same thing from Brian, right? Same thing, different week. Inventory is low, right? I'm sure you guys are as sick of hearing it as I am of saying it. But it's getting worse and worse and worse. So it's funny. I was looking at a memory on Facebook last night, and it was an instructional video that I put up on our Facebook page showing the serious decline in inventory over like a 3-month period from the time that COVID kind of initially hit and was declared a national emergency, which I think was March 13th, to then like 3 months after that in June. And the extreme shortage of inventory that we thought we saw at that point in time, it was certainly different from what we would have expected, because usually in March we see inventory go up, right? The seasonality of our market starts to kick in. People that want to sell their home before school starts put their home on the market. But we saw the exact opposite. Instead of new listings and inventory kind of inching up, we saw it take a dive downward. And that has continued. I know a lot of people, especially if they're looking at, line charts, are kind of wondering the same thing with regard to the stock market, certain stocks. When will it end? When will it stop? And it's kind of tough to get a read on it right now. I'll be perfectly honest. It's tough to get a read on a market when we have such an extreme shortage of inventory in certain areas. And the reason for that is because, when I walk through a home with an owner, and we do all the standard things that you would expect. We walk through the property, we talk about the condition, we talk about staging, decluttering. If at times I feel like, man, maybe this is going to be a little bit more of a project than just moving, 2 or 3 things around, then I'll offer to have our professional designer and decorator walk through the house, room by room, give them a to-do list, which is really more of a, hey, here's what you need to do. Here's what you could do. Here's what I would not spend your time and money on. And so they walk away with the list room by room of here's how we're going to prep your home for sale so that as soon as it hits the market, we're getting the best offers at the best prices. Now, in this market, you could choose not to do those things, but it has been my experience that when you front load a little bit of time and effort and energy, very rarely does that mean resources, right? Sometimes it means painting and maybe doing something with some flooring or some repairs. But more often than not, we're talking about just giving everything a nice polish, rearranging some things here and there. We all get very comfortable in living in our homes, and we sometimes don't view our home as a product, right, that we're selling to somebody. It's, hey, I'm comfortable. This is how I like it. So we're going to make sure that we show the home in the best light. And so when we get this home prepared for sale and it's marketed well and it's priced appropriately, almost every single time we're getting multiple offers. Almost every single time. Now, that is part of the strategy, and I think for good reason, because it allows you to have buyers fight over one another. That will end up giving you, in my opinion, a more attractive offer, better terms, better price than they would if, say, I would walk through a property and say, all right, well, let's just say that, the fair market value for your house is $400,000. All right, that's what I think it's worth. Now, how much do you want to list it for? That's a process that several agents go through. It's a process that I'll offer, right, or a suggestion that I'll offer. But I want you guys to understand the strategies associated with selling property, right? So you can either list it at very close to what it's worth, maybe a few percentage points more. You're probably going to get multiple offers. You're going to be able to choose the best deal out of the stack. That person that you choose also knows, by the way, that if they don't toe the line, if they try to get too aggressive during negotiations, then you already have backups. You have other people you can talk to. And those people already missed out on this opportunity. So if we were to go back to them and say, hey, this deal's getting a little shaky. I don't know if it's going to close. Are your buyers still interested? And they say, heck yeah, I am. Well, then now we can use that as leverage against the first deal that we took to say, hey, it's either you or it's somebody else. But this is what the seller's saying. It's a nice position to be in from a negotiation standpoint. But the other option is, all right, let's say it's worth $400,000. How much do you want to list it for? $450, $475. Because inventory is so low, and I'm not saying that doesn't work, because in a market where inventory is at an extreme low, like it is right now, the gap between what a home is worth and what a buyer is willing to pay widens, right? In a normal market, it's pretty safe to assume that if this is what it's worth, then it's going to sell for pretty close to what it's worth. But obviously in a market like this, we have people that are willing to pay 5, 10, 15% more than what a property is worth just to get the house, just to lock in that really low interest rate, or just to feel like, hey, I won. I could afford it, so I might as well just go for it, is what some of these buyers, I think, are thinking and feeling when they get into a multiple offer situation. Hopefully you're not so competitive a person that you make a poor financial decision. That's obviously what we as real estate agents are here for, is to help you establish some benchmarks to say, hey, emotion removed, this is what this property is worth. This is how much, we think it will appraise for, essentially, especially if they're getting a mortgage.